What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the F1 2016 career mode with Manor. As you can see, we've got another R&D event taking place. We've actually upgraded our engine. As you remember from last time, we've managed to increase the horsepower of the engine, as you can see right there. But here we are in Russia, the final flyaway event before the European season officially begins. As you can see, we haven't got a rivalry just yet. That's probably going to be announced later on. As you can see, these are the upgrades here. Now on the left hand side of the screen, you can see that Toro Rosso made another upgrade to their car, so they're very close to actually being level with the senior team Red Bull Racing. So that will throw some spanner in the works if Toro Rosso end up being better than Red Bull. As you can see, we're now into practice straight away. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any footage of a cutscene that David Croft or Anthony Davidson were talking at this particular race. I don't know what happened there, but here we are in the track acclimatization. It was quite easy actually, I think, around Russia, because of the fact that I think it's a relatively new track. It's also quite easy to get hit all the apexes. As you can see there, we're going to be coming across the line and setting all 3 purple lap times, and also getting the 100% possible score. And also on the tyre wear test, that this is a really good track when it comes to tyre wear. As you guys remember from the actual races in real life, we didn't really have many pit stops in either 2014, 2015, or even 2016 for that matter, even though we did have a safety car right at the start of the race following Vettel's crash. As you can see, this is the first time we're actually going to get purple laps here, and that we're going to get the maximum number of resource points from the tyre wear test, so it's absolutely fantastic. And those points allowed us to give ourselves another upgrade, and as you can see here, I ended up deciding it was between the fuel efficiency or the drag, and I thought the drag will come into massive effect, especially at races like Canada and Azerbaijan, and then also Austria and Silverstone we've got coming up later on in the calendar. So we need to reduce that drag, and also make this car pretty much a bullet in a straight line. Obviously this car still lacks downforce, but the fact that we don't have enough resource points, I thought we need to get, if we can get ourselves quick in a straight line, and very similar to how the Saubers were very quick in the back end of 2013 with the massive straight line speed advantage that allowed them to compete with the likes of Lotus and Ferrari towards the end of the season with Nico Hülkenberg. We're going to go for the drag part. As you can see here, we're going to spend 300 points on that, and that means we have 4 out of the 5 upgrades at level 1 by the Spanish Grand Prix. We then moved on into practice 2 for the qualifying test. As you can see here, we're on the super top soft tyres right now, and around this circuit I think we're a little bit off the pace relative to where we were in China and in Bahrain. I don't know if it's the fact that the car lacks downforce, or I'm not driving to my full potential. As you can see, we did pretty well through the first couple of corners, but by the end of the first lap we were only able to set a green time, so only being able to pass the initial objective, and then we got set a even higher objective. But fortunately for us, we were able to pass that as well as we cut to the end of the second lap. As you can see, we're just about going to beat the second target time there. But then we go on to a final lap, which I think we also gets the secondary objective of the purple lap time, just to ensure we got the extra resource points. So it looks like for the first time we're going to get all 3 tests 100% completed and maximum resource points there. But it might be a little bit tough in qualifying though. Anyways, we've now got a cutscene to watch.
Guess who made the gossip columns this morning? Everyone's talking about this new rival you have. Check his stats out.
So as you heard there, we've actually got a brand new rival. It turns out it's the man whose home race it is, and that is Daniil Kvyat, who is our brand new rival. Unfortunately for us, the fact that Toro Rosso have been making very big improvements to their car could result in us possibly losing this particular rivalry, but we're going to try our absolute best with the car we've got. I'm pretty sure we won't lose our seat if we do end up losing to him, but the main aim is obviously for me is to beat Wehrlein still, but to try and get as close to Kvyat as possible, especially at its home race here. He's wanting to do well. But anyways, let's get into qualifying now.
Welcome F1 fans, where qualifying will be starting in the next few minutes as the teams prepare to get out on track at the Sochi Autodrome here in Russia. This is the kind of track that eats rear tyres for breakfast, or so I'm told by more experienced drivers than myself.
Lots of low-speed exits means the rears are in for a lot of punishment. It's all too easy to spin them up coming out of a corner too aggressively. It might look great for us as spectators, as we love to see a car driven beyond its limits, but it's not going to result in a great long-run pace.
Alright, here we are in Q1, immediately starting on the super soft tyres. We just need to make sure. Let's just see how far we can get up the grid here. I mean, we've had 2 very good qualifying sessions the past 2 races, qualifying just outside the top 10, which is actually quite surprising for me. But unfortunately, around here, we were actually struggling quite a bit around this particular circuit. As you see, we come across the line now. It's P3 for now, but unfortunately for us, we do drop all the way down the field. So that means we have to go out again. As we cut to the start of our second lap, we're down in P18. So this lap is absolutely important. But unfortunately, we actually lock up into make a massive mistake into that corner, and that has cost us a bucket load of time. And unfortunately, that will end up costing us overall lap time and overall track position, and resulting in us missing out in Q2 and we're ending up going out in Q1, qualifying down in P18. So a bit disappointing considering that this track is pretty much a power circuit, and with the fact that we just had an upgraded engine. But it happens, I guess. The fact that we've missed out. I think we weren't far off though in terms of the actual times, as you can see down there. But we missed out alongside Gutierrez, Magnussen, Verlan, who managed to out-qualify both Saubers ahead of Ericsson and Nasser. As you can see there, Bottas was very nearly close to being knocked out in Q1. So very interesting qualifying session. I'm not sure what's going to happen the rest of qualifying, obviously, because we're out, but we'll have to see when we start the race. So let's get into that right now.
Welcome one and all to the Russian Grand Prix. We're just a stone's throw from the Georgian border here at Sochi as we get ready to begin the race that served up an absolute cracker back in 2015. A last lap collision between Kimi Raikkonen and Valtteri Bottas sparked controversy in that race, so let's hope the racing is just as tight today. Built on the shores of the Black Sea, the Sochi Autodrome is a 3.6-mile tour around some of the venues built for the 2014 Winter Olympic Games. Close barriers may make overtakes more challenging, but with 56% of the lap taken absolutely flat out, we certainly won't be wanting for pure speed. A fitting arena then to do battle at the pinnacle of motorsport. And alongside me to take you through it all is none other than Anthony Davidson. This was a circuit that I think in its inaugural race got off to a bit of a shaky start, but since then it's really drawn the fans in and become a very popular event. What do you think changed?
But this just goes to show the importance of fixing problems as and when you discover them. As a complete unknown quantity in 2014, the tyre choice was quite conservative, which didn't really allow much in terms of different strategy options. So it was pretty much as you were from lights to flag. But that was a great learning experience, and we came back the next year and had a really exciting Grand Prix, with battles for the podium going on all the way to the final lap. So hopefully we'll be treated to more of the same this year.
Your target today is 19th place.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Kimi Raikkonen's perfect lap yesterday sees him start from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Rosberg, Max Verstappen, and Massa, Vettel, Bottas, Perez, and Carlos Sainz, Kvyat, Hülkenberg, Romain Grosjean, and Button, Alonso, Palmer, Esteban Gutierrez, and Manor, Magnussen, and Verline. Marcus Ericsson and Felipe Nasser starts from the back of the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Alright, we're on the grid. Let's have a quick look at the race strategy today. So it looks like it's pretty self-explanatory with a one-stopper. However, it looks like we've got rain coming up towards the end of the race, so that could throw a spanner in the works, especially if guys are doing two-stoppers rather than one-stoppers. But in theory, it should all be a one-stopper, considering the tyre wear around here is pretty much non-existent, considering how well we did on the tyre wear tests. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's hope the rain comes down towards the end. It doesn't screw us over too much as we come on to the formation lap now. As you can see, behind our teammate, we're just ahead of our teammate actually, and with the Haas just ahead of us. So no weird penalties happened this time around, so that's very fortunate for us and also for the AI. So fingers crossed, let's have a good start to this race, can move up the grid pretty quickly at the start, possibly challenge the points, but you never know with this sort of, with F1, you could easily get caught up with an incident or have a blistering start. So let's, fingers crossed, we get a good start and we can move up the field as quickly as possible.
Keep an eye on the lights. The start sequence will begin as soon as the grid is formed. Be ready with the clutch.
Lights out and away we go, and we blitzed immediately past the Haas of Gutierrez and now battling with the Renault of Jolyon Palmer and a McLaren on the outside. But as you can see, there's been an incident in front and we've hit the Force India of Hulkenberg not once, not twice, but 3 times. As you can see, we just about avoided a car that was spun around. That was out the race. As you can see there, 2 cars are out on the spot in Felipe Massa and Sebastian Vettel. So let's actually have a look at the replay. As we run into the back of Hulkenberg, you can see there's 2 cars spun around and there's a car facing the wrong way on the outside of the circuit. And the car that was spun around was the Force India of Perez. As you can see, he gets hit by the Williams of Massa there, and that costs him his front wing, unfortunately. Now he's at the back of the field, and this is on board the start with Vettel. As you can see, he's got bird's eye view as to what actually happens to Massa. As you can see, Massa gets completely squeezed out of turn 1, and Vettel has absolutely nowhere to go, and it's out by turn 1. He has absolutely nowhere to go there, and it's really unfortunate for the Ferrari driver that he is out on the spot. As we can go on board with Massa here, as you can see, it's the Red Bull that actually turns into him, and that cost Massa his front right suspension, and Massa's unable to prevent him from hitting Perez there, and therefore 2 cars are out of the spot immediately. As we come back on board to our live feed, unfortunately for us, we have to make a pit stop because the damage to the front wing was too severe for us to continue without making a pit stop. So we're going to switch to the medium tyres, and let's hope we can actually get to the end of the race on those. The strategy says we could get to the end of them, but you never know with this sort of thing. It's a long pit stop, obviously, but fortunately for us, we don't rejoin right at the back of the field because of the fact that Perez had been spun around at the start and we were ahead of him. That means we're not necessarily last of the runners at the moment. We've still got to we've rejoined behind both the Saubers of Nasser and Ericsson, so the aim for us is to try and close up to the back of them as quickly as we possibly can. As we cut to the end of lap 2, as you can see, the gap is under 10 seconds, so we're not that far behind the Saubers. I think they're going to have a little bit of the pace advantage on us, considering they're on still fresh super soft tyres and we're on medium. So it was only towards lap 6 or 7 where we were actually beginning to close the gap due to them wearing the tyres out. As we come to the end of lap 10, as you can see, we've got quite a few cars in the pits. One of them is the Sauber of Ericsson. We do move up a couple of spots as some of the guys that have made their pit stops. This was actually the pit stop that we were supposed to come in on had we not had the incident there. And we've now moved up into P16 behind the Sauber of Nasser. We come to the end of lap 11. This is the other lap for the remaining drivers that started the race on super softs at the start. As you can see, we move up to P30, or actually P12, behind the man we actually had an incident with, Hulkenberg, and ahead of Jolyon Palmer. We're going to cut to lap 13 now. We're going to listen to the engineer here.
Expecting light rain to arrive within 15 minutes.
So as you heard there, we've actually got rain on the horizon in 15 minutes time. So in theory, we've actually jumped all the cars that have made their pit stops, as long as we can keep these tyres in pretty perfect condition as the rain comes down. We're actually going to go on board with Pascal Wehrlein here. He actually goes straight past the Renault of Jolyon Palmer there, so that engine upgrade is working really well for our teammate there. He's moved up another spot, and we're currently running in P12 and P13. Meanwhile, out in front, we've got 2 McLarens on the start of the race on the soft tyres, and they're trying to extend their stints such that they can come into the pits and put on the super softs to the end of the race there. As you can see, they're getting overtaken by a Red Bull there. I think that's Verstappen off the top of my head. And you've also got a couple other cars. I think Rosberg's in that pack as well. He had a little problem during the actual race here. As you can see, we're on board Alonso here. He goes past Jenson Button here, so he's got a little bit more pace than the British driver. And it's actually Alonso is the first out of the McLarens to pit there. As you can see there, Rosberg's just behind the Red Bull, and Button is just behind Rosberg there. So Alonso's essentially racing us now, considering we've been beginning to reel that gap in because of the fact that he's been on worn soft tyres. But coming to the starting lap number 18, as you can see, that's the McLaren of Alonso right there. So he's just about jumped us in the overall pit stops there. We're going to try and see if we can overtake him through turn 2, turn 3, and the sweeping left-hander here. We try and stick with the McLaren, but unfortunately, the dirty air and unfortunately means we drop off the pace, and his super soft tyres are so much more grippier than our now worn mediums. We've been on these tyres now for 18 laps, and 1 lap later it's actually Jenson Button's pit stop. So in theory we should have jumped the fellow British driver, considering the fact he was on 1 more lap with those worn soft tyres compared with Alonso, and the fact that he was behind Alonso on track, as you saw earlier on with the overtake that Alonso made. As we come on board our feed there, as we start lap 19, that's Button in the pits just there on the right hand side there. So we've now moved up into P11. We have net gained overall track position despite our front wing change, but of course we're going to have to try and get these tyres to last as long as possible as the rain comes down. As you can see, it's a lot cloudier as the races progress, so it looks like the rain is closing. As you can see, we've got bigger problems though, with Button looking very feisty, trying to go and overtake us with those fresh super softs up the inside as we head up towards the second DRS zone. But he backs out of it though due to the fact of our superior engine power and our superior engine upgrade. And McLaren haven't really made any upgrades so far in this. As you see, Button's trying to go around the outside into the heavy braking zone of turn number 2, but he's unable to make a move stick there. And this is a little battle we had for a couple of laps here. As you can see, we're going to go back on board with him the next lap at the second DRS zone. As you can see, he's got a good run of us prior to the corner, but he just runs out of pace and can't brake it hard enough into the very tight right-hander there, and he's forced to stick behind us. But we're now going to cut to the very next lap on lap 21. As you can see, I'm trying to check out when the rain is coming. Unfortunately, there's no data available, so that assumes that the rain is pretty much imminent. So it's either next lap or this lap. Well, you never know. As you can see, Button's going to try and go up the inside here, make a little bit of contact though, and we've gone deep into the corner, unfortunately, and that has allowed Button to overtake us, unfortunately. So we've lost a place there, but to be honest, it was really a hard fight for us. We were always going to lose that battle with these warm mediums. As you can see, Button there making a little bit of contact there as he goes up the inside there, and his hand goes up a little bit late. There's a little bug there in the code. As you can see, we're going to cut to, that's the battle we don't have to worry about now. As we cut to lap 22, it's actually, the rain has begun to fall. As you can see, we're really struggling to go around the sweeping left-hander. We're immediately asking to come on the inside. We've gone completely deep into the next right-hander. As you can see, the weather is really affecting us massively, especially the guys behind there. And as you can see, Wehrlein is still ahead of Palmer as we head into the last few corners before the pit entry. We're really struggling on these meters. We need to come in for those intermediate tyres, but unfortunately for us, the fact that Wehrlein is just behind us, he's going to get held up massively, especially with a couple of cars that he's in a little fight with. So it's going to be a real tough blow for him, but it's just unfortunate. It's just one of those things where the rain comes down at the wrong time and you get screwed over sometimes. I mean, if it was the other way around, I'd be fuming as well. So it's going to be interesting to see where we come out. As you can see, that's Button in the pits. He's going to get held up by us, I think. Yeah, he's on the right-hand side there as we rejoin the pits and we put on the intermediate tyres. But unfortunately for us, we're going to get held up massively because the 2 Haas cars have stacked and it's blocked our pit exit. So we can't go anywhere until Grosjean is served, and therefore we've lost a place to him, but we've also lost a place to Palmer as well, that he was able to make a move past there. And we're going to go back on the board with a replay of Jenson Button. As you can see, the McLaren mechanics had just finished dealing with Alonso. That's why there was a little delay there. As you can see, he has to wait for both myself and Wehrlein, the 2 Haas cars, and then the Renault of Palmer that was served just behind him there. And this is on board with Wehrlein's point of view. As you can see, he doesn't get held up there, but he's going to get held up by myself, waiting to be released as soon as the Haas cars move out the way there. And now he has to wait quite a bit of time, a few precious seconds there, before intermediates come on him. And then he gets held up by another Renault in the of Magnussen there. So we've got a bit of work to do if we want to try and move back up the order here. We're down in P14 and behind the Haas of Grosjean, so we've got to fight on our hands to get ourselves back up the order here as we go up the inside of Grosjean. A bit of an aggressive move there, a bit of a late lunge, but we need to make the move stick there, and we're up into P13, and we've just got 2 British drivers to deal with in Jenson Button and Palmer. And now the fact that we're on a level playing field with Button, with the same sort of tyres at the same sort of lifespan, it may be a little bit more of a fairer fight between us compared to what we had previously. As you can see, we're really close to Button, who's really close to Palmer himself. So there's a real battle for 11th between the 3 British drivers here as we go cheekily up the inside into the sweeping left-hander there. Button getting out of the way a little bit there. I think that was a little bit of a apology for him hitting us off there earlier on in the race as we now pursue the Renault of Palmer here. Let's see if we can actually overtake him like unlike we did at the start, but let's try and overtake him cleanly before any incidents there as we go up the inside into this right-hander here, and Palmer unfortunately gets forced wide, and that allows Button to make a move up the inside as well. So we've got myself in P11 and Button in 12th, but unfortunately for us, Alonso is way too far up the field for us to catch, so it looks like we're not going to score any points today. But fortunately for us, there's actually an alert that comes up a bit later on down this straight. As you can see there, Nico Rosberg is out of the race. And that means if we can hold on to this position, we will actually score a point out of this after all the incidents that we've had and all the bad luck we've had throughout this race with the start and the pit stop blunder when the intermediates went on. As you can see, we're on board with Rosberg. His engine just lets go on the main straight as we head up towards turn 2 there. He actually holds up the Red Bull, I think, of Ricciardo before he pulls off the circuit there. But that's really unfortunate for the German. He had a really tough race. He had some car issues earlier on where he was behind, I think, a couple of the Toro Rosso and a couple of the Red Bulls there. As you can see, we're coming through the yellow flag zone right now. We've now moved up into P10 officially, we're in between the two McLarens of Alonso in P9 and Button in P11. And fortunately for us, we're able to hold on to this position as we come towards the end of the race. Raikkonen has won essentially his home race. It's just across the border in Finland there, Russia. And we come across the line now. We're going to score P10 and another point for the team.
Good job, you did really well. Super driving.
Great effort there from Ferrari to take the victory today. And as we can see, it's time for the podium, and as the drivers make their way out, there's a familiar red suit making its way to the top step. Fantastic win for Ferrari. And now let's take a look at the drivers' standings. Kimi Raikkonen takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship after that excellent result. And now I'd like to ask you, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
For my money, it's definitely the Manor driver. They fought so hard and had incredible pace at times, so I don't think anyone else did a better job today.
And here's how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari extend their lead at the top of the championship. Meanwhile, Toro Rosso's strong weekend allows them to continue their march up the table. That's it for today's Grand Prix, and from Ant and I, it's goodbye, and see you again next time.
So here are the official results. Raikkonen won the race, Hamilton in second, Verstappen third, Bottas in fourth, Kvyat completely blitzing us today, finishing in fifth place there with Daniel Ricciardo in sixth, Carlos Sainz in seventh, so a very good result for Toro Rosso there, Hulkenberg in eighth, Alonso ninth, and myself in 10th. Unfortunately, Wehrlein finished outside the top 12 there, so a bit disappointing for him considering what happened there. As we come to see what the Drivers' Championship looks like, as you can see, Raikkonen has taken the lead off Lewis Hamilton. There's a real battle for third behind him with Ricciardo ahead of Vettel now, Rosberg all the way down in P5, and Kvyat moving up into the top 8 there with his fantastic 5th place result there. I think Toro Rosso have done a really good job with their car at the moment with the overall upgrades and stuff, so it may be it's going to be a massive challenge for us to actually challenge Kvyat throughout the whole rivalry that we've got with him. And as you can see, Sainz has moved up as well with Hulkenberg into the top 12, as well as we now cut to the Constructors' Championship. And Ferrari have extended their lead at the top of the standings ahead of Mercedes with only one driver from each of those teams scoring points there. The only change in overall position is Toro Rosso moving ahead of Manor, but to be honest, we weren't expected to really beat the Red Bull Junior team, also considering their upgrades. So it's not bad considering the fact we're still ahead of guys like Force India and McLaren, who both scored today as well. So we can have a little battle on our hands with those guys, but I doubt we'll be able to stay ahead of them throughout the whole year. But it depends on how much we were able to upgrade the car. As you can see, Kvyat completely dominated us during that actual race there. So it's a bit unfortunate for us there, but fortunately for us, we do very well with the overall drive position there, and we get everything +1 there. And we actually have enough resource points to make another upgrade ready for the next race in Spain. As you can see, we're going to go for the fuel efficiencies, which means we'll hopefully be able to run in rich fuel mix for a little bit longer, and also allows us to try and hopefully stay ahead of Sauber should Sauber make any upgrades ready for Spain themselves. So as you can see, we're going to select the fuel efficiency for 250 points, and that's going to be the end of the episode today. If you enjoyed this really exciting, I'd say, Russian Grand Prix, please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next episode in Spain. I'll try and get that out as soon as possible. Apologies for the delay on this. I've just been really busy over the past few days with just moving houses, etc. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll try my best to get the next race out as soon as possible, and I'll see you all for the next race when we officially start the European season with the Spanish Grand Prix at the Circuit de Catalunya. Until then, see you later.
Hi. I have to dash off, but I wanted to give you the contract first. I'll let you read over the details, but congratulations.